A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0. So let's just say, things have certainly been getting bigger and better on the channel. What better way to talk about content at an individual rate than to talk specifically about one long-running franchise I've had since practically the beginning of the resurgence period, as I call it. But let's be real though, I'd say as of this year, that period might be coming to an end because I didn't just resurge on my channel as of 2017, but as soon as 2023 comes around, I'm going to declare this period to be over and pretty much issue the start date of a new period of mine, which will pretty much become the next big step into potential success on social media by all counts. Not just with YouTube, but also with other social media as well, considering that I've had growth. Some posts of mine have gone viral on platforms other than YouTube, like Twitter or Instagram. And then, of course, I've been getting followers on all counts. Subscribers, whatever you want to call them, certainly have been getting a little more abundant. People really like my content, it seems. I'm more than glad to entertain the lots of you, but today, in this part of the Vlog-A-Thon, let's get to talking about gaming with Kaiju Force Neo. This series has definitely been a direct conduit to serving as the biggest major growth that allowed the channel to be as big as possible and to have as much content that I could possibly offer. What it is specifically are a bunch of gaming videos. Gaming videos that might seem as generic as just simply fading from black and then fading to black after a certain period of time has gone around. Not to mention intro and outro segments which can either appear as text on screen or as audio recordings that I've left behind myself. But let's not forget, much like how I've talked about with Hobby of Celerity eventually getting a 200 episode special, Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo did in fact have a 200th episode special of its own, which was in fact the first time I ever tried to use face cam technology. Just simply a camera pointed in my direction at the same time I had game footage taking place. Not through the usage of an Elgato or other sort of game capture software or piece of machinery of any sorts. But it is in fact the standard PlayStation 4 share feature, which is used by clicking on the share button and then pressing square to save video clips, which can be made in different lengths, from 30 seconds all the way to 60 minutes. Typically I have my limit set to 60 minutes just to maximize the amount of time between the first and last seconds of each clip that I got. But of course, it doesn't really do a whole lot of things to the overall quality of the content. Moreover, all the GWK content I've made specifically came from the PlayStation 4 itself. And I've had two of them in my whole life. Since we first got a hold of one in late 2013, after all the crap about the PlayStation 4's release status had pretty much gone down, with some delays and a little bit of trouble getting it out to the market, it's pretty much nothing compared to what the PlayStation 5 had been going through in terms of its release status. Why we can't find any on shelves even to this day is pretty much beyond me, but the thing is that the PlayStation 4 was pretty much nothing better than the PlayStation 5's release status and all of the problems that came up from that point. The point is though, I had two of them. If you remember with the first one in mid to late 2020, it was a time where that one in particular was coming to its end. It started to get loaded with corrupted data, and over and over and over and over again, it would just refuse to work properly. So this was just basically the end of the road for that one in particular. Thank goodness I had a pretty nice uncle who was able to give one to me by the end of that year, just so I could continue my work that's GWK related. So with all the hurdles and all the problems that I've had to deal with the first one at that time in particular, I will say that to this day, the current one that I have is still very functional and definitely works a lot better even. It definitely has a little more quality flair than pretty much anything that the other one could have, which is saying something, but Then again, considering that it's a Pro compared to the original, which was just an original PS4, I will at least point out that GWK, for all the things that I've been able to do with it since early 2017, when I originally had episodes up on the channel pretty much, thus declaring that period to be the resurgence period. Though, of course, it ultimately didn't really start up until June 2018, when I basically came out of the blackout period once and for all, simply by having all the videos that had been privated due to the blackout period taking effect, as demanded by law, actually. Because of the problems that I had back in 2013, 5 officers just treated me like a real big terrorist, which is just unbelievable. I never quite figured that they would actually be capable of doing this. All for some pranks? All for some sarcastic comments? I mean, really? What time period do people think we're living in? But anyways, because of that specifically, 5 officers, no joke, right in the middle of a good test score in middle school back in 2013, but all's well that pretty much ends well, because by the time the blackout period fully cleared up, I was not only able to get content rolling again the right way instead of having it all privated all this time. Nerf Secrets Revealed itself with the original series and all that eventually came back to light, and people started to watch the episodes again. I got some pretty notable reactions from people years after they were originally uploaded, but maybe the biggest thing that I'd have to mention is just the fact that Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo did in fact go through some problems. In particular, in 2017 alone was when I had a bit of suspicion, supposedly making it feel that I could possibly end up in really big trouble again, particularly with police and other such law enforcement. And my channel would not only have to be locked out of my control again, it probably would have to be deleted. Again, under demand by law. I mean, what kind of fight would I be able to put up against something like this? Probably not a whole lot. I could have been through a lot worse. Like, I could have been put behind bars, for all I knew. I could have been sentenced to death. I could have been, well, subject to something much worse than death. I don't even know for sure exactly what it's supposed to be, but in the end, I just simply had to do what I had to do to keep my channel safe, my life safe. And what I did, I deleted the original episodes of Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo Seasons 1 and 2, 2017. And the ones in 2018 that you've seen, Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo episodes 1 through, let's say, 199 pretty much, up until episode 200 came around, those were in fact the original GWK episodes that I put up for 2018. They were meant to be seasons 3 and 4. But again, because the seasons 1 and 2 that I had in 2017 had to be removed, the ones in 2018 ultimately are the originals. But not to worry, because earlier this year, I was able to create 2 new series, which are in fact recollections of what I did in 2017, pretty much. Of course, recollected parts 1 and 2 are going to serve particularly as redacted versions of the original seasons 1 and 2 from 2017. So I played games specifically pre-2017 for this reason. But in terms of how it is today, with all the stuff that I basically put together, Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo, the mainline series as I refer to it, with episodes that are pretty much exceeding well over 2,000 in particular. And that's a really big number when you really think about it. That is a lot of episodes for gaming content, or pretty much just any web series that ever exists on YouTube. I feel like I'm not only breaking grounds, but I'm also breaking records and breaking probably a lot of obligations. So at this point in time, there's no secret to anything. This series alone is what really drove up the enormous video count that my YouTube channel currently has, alongside all the other content I've made: Vlog-A-Thon, Unofficial Podiatry, Milestone Challenges, Nerf Secrets Revealed, Hobbyist Hilarity, and a good majority of others. Even HJN pretty much pales in comparison to this. And that series has well over 1,500 episodes by this point, which is definitely a lot. But nonetheless, GWK is huge. All the expansions I've got onto it certainly made it even bigger than it already is. The 2-hour specials in 2018, which eventually evolved into Long Haul, which was also a thing here in 2022. Then we got 18-. Then we have the franchise specified series, which include the likes of Nathan Drake Triage, which specifically entitles my playthrough of the Nathan Drake Collection 2015. And then I also did a series based off of the Dead Rising titles, particularly the remastered versions for the PS4. Dead Rising Remastered, Dead Rising 2 Remastered, Dead Rising Off the Record Remastered, and then finally the special edition of Dead Rising 4 called Frank's Big Package, which, much like the Long Haul and 18-, are pretty much things from 2022. So this year has been really big in terms of GWK expansions, especially ones that people are indeed going to like to see. In terms of anything I have for the future, I plan on doing more franchise-specified series, including one which will be based off of the Dark Pictures series. The first 4 games out of a planned 8, supposedly, as Bandai Namco confirmed that they will be making more games after the 4th game is released, known as The Devil in Me. And now that that title is out in particular, I'm going to be able to play that. And when I do, I sure am going to be rather surprised. The trailer alone was incredible. I mean, definitely a million times better than what House of Ashes had to offer. I mean, a weird Lamazode story about the Middle East in the early 2000s, post 9/11. To me, that's just not really that good of an idea. I mean, it definitely is nothing compared to what Man of Maiden and Little Hope had to offer. But hopefully we'll see what The Devil in Me is like when I play through that one. I'm pretty excited about it, but you never quite know what could happen in that game in particular. I also plan on doing a combination of Resident Evil and Batman games, which I'll simply call Resident Batman. So, a hybrid between those two franchises will be pieced together. Because I was able to get Resident Evil 4 HD and Resident Evil 5 HD alongside Batman Return to Arkham. So, this in particular means that for the first time in a long time, I've officially revisited Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham Origins and Batman Arkham City for the first time. Arkham Origins, unfortunately, was unable to be added because you can only stream it. So, at least I did play through that game in particular. So, other than Arkham Knight's revisits in 2020, I certainly had some really good times revisiting some good old memories from those times. That Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, they were some of the greatest games I ever played in my life. And to play them on the PS4, the best console that has ever existed by far, it really says something. So, of course it's nothing compared to Ark, but Ark can in fact be something of its own unique story. But let's just say that everything else in terms of GWK is what it is. And I'll certainly have a really, really long-running future for GWK-related content for as long as possible. So at this time, it's very much appropriate for me to say, GWK is not going to go away for a long time. And so, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side if you'd like to see more on the channel.